Is Linux more secure than Windows? Someone wrote in, plus there was a whole bunch of debate in one of the threads about whether or not Windows or Linux is more secure and why. Every OS has its flaws, whether it's Mac OS, Linux, Unix, BSD, Windows. The more people that are running an operating system, the more reason there is to go looking for flaws if you're a hacker. So Windows ends up getting more of a bad rap than it probably deserves because being the primary operating system, people are constantly poking holes at it and saying, ta-da, we found this problem. The other problem that Windows faces is that a lot of people run very old software on it because it will run that very old software. Mac OS has changed versions enough times that a lot of the stuff that you used to run on it in the old PowerPC chip days don't run on the x86 chips that it now runs on. And because of those things, there's just less old ware that has holes in it to begin with. All of that said, what it really boils down to from a corporate environment, and the reason that things like the CIA runs Windows, not runs Linux on the desktop, is because of how security policies within Windows are built. Because of group policy objects, Active Directory services, and other Microsoft network administration tools, you can build a network that's more secure across a deployed environment. So the individual machine may be slightly weaker, but the network as a whole is infinitely more protected. Yes, you can lock down Linux to the point that it is very secure, just like you can knock down Windows to the point that it's very secure. But if you really want a secure environment, about the only thing you can do is disconnect the device from the network, bury it in the ground under 10 tons of cement, and not ever let anybody near it. As soon as someone has physical access to your computer, your network security starts to break down. And it breaks down at different rates depending on the platform. With Mac OS, I can walk up to any machine, insert the install disk, and reset the master password and have access to all of the content on that computer. You can't do that with a Windows machine. If you have set the passwords on the individual protected folders, it doesn't matter if I'm the administrator, I don't have access to what the user has protected. Linux has varying degrees of this depending on which file format you're running on the disks that you have mounted. And so you can get varying degrees of this. And then people will say, oh, but there's all of these security packages for each of them. Well, that's true for any of them. If you install a blowfish partition on Windows, Mac OS, or Linux, your disks are much more secure for anything that's installed on that blowfish partition. That said, most of you aren't, and so out of the box, they all suffer from some of those issues. So, which operating system is the most secure? Probably the most obscure one, because no one's going to have documented how to hack it. In terms of open source versus proprietary software, and should it be secure through Obscurity or secure by design, it ought to be secure by both. And when you're dealing with a product as large as Microsoft's Windows, that's being tested by the government and security experts in order to make sure that it's secure by design, it has a lot of advantages. Linux is picking up those advantages too because they're being used in a lot of different places and they've got a lot of smart people working on it. But no, I don't think that Linux is any more secure than Windows, and I don't think Windows is any more secure than Linux. It's just that group policy and network policy allows you to make a Windows deployment across hundreds of users more secure than you could in a Linux deployment. In terms of servers, Linux and Windows probably run pretty close on parity, and despite what everyone will tell me, Mac OS is the least secure of the operating systems. It's just that most of you Mac people don't have anything worth stealing. And I say that with a little bit of jest, but it's mostly true. If I walk up to your Mac, I can destroy it much faster than I can a Windows or a Linux machine. And in terms of remote attacks on it, several of my friends who work at the Genius Bar will tell you that they spend a lot of time cleaning off Trojans on Macs because Mac people are more trusting because they don't believe they can get viruses. And I'll probably link to my short little animation with Charlie Sheen talking about why he runs Mac because he can't get viruses, just for fun, and it's a funny little video. So, there we go. They are all equally bad. You're responsible for your own security. If you're not responsible for your own security, run Windows and make your network admin responsible for your security. And then you'll be happy and safe and all that good fun stuff.